All right, we're in, we're spawned. Don't you worry, we're gonna have you in a base in no time. First things first, though, we're gonna need some resources. Get your rock, gather some wood. You're gonna need an absolute ton of wood to begin with, but for now, about one tree's worth should do it. And the next thing we're going to look for, because trees are basically everywhere, is a rock, but a particular kind of rock. It doesn't have any like marks in it, and it's just like a sort of whitish grayish rock. Meanwhile, while you're looking for any of these things I'm mentioning, if you see a cloth plant, grab that cloth. Cloth is absolutely amazing in the early game, like this one right over here. Grab that. Use my wrong hand almost there. This is not the kind of rock we're looking for. Pass that up. And also, if you see any ruins with any of these crates, go ahead and grab those real quick. The quick grab key is the B key on your right controller. But always grab scrap, salvage, whatever you want to call it, especially shreds, and also always grab cloth in the early game. All right. This is the kind of stone that we want. Just regular gray stone. Collect the whole thing because we are going to need some of it. All right, now that we've got some stone and some wood, let's go and craft. We're going to want to start by getting some tools. A stone pickaxe and a stone hatchet. Hatchet's more important than the pickaxe if you have to choose. And now we can get rid of that rock. Good riddance. So in the meantime, let's get some more wood. So what we really need here is enough wood to build a base, which is going to be quite a bit. We're probably going to go through a couple of hatchets. And also, importantly, enough cloth to build a sleeping bag. And you might be saying, oh, hey, I already know that I'm supposed to do these things, yada, yada, yada. What I'm saying is, if you want the best chance to live, do these things immediately and stay away from guys like this who are going to try to kill you. Oh, and my left controller disconnected right when that guy was coming to kill me. So I did not have a chance to flee, but I'm just going to respawn. Now we're going to have to start from scratch, but that all underlines a very important point. Always keep an eye behind you, because you never know when someone's going to sneak up on you. You can't hear them very far away until they're all of a sudden right there behind you. So always keep an eye out for other guys, especially naked guys with nothing to lose. And if you see anybody, don't try to talk to them. Don't do any of that stuff until you have a base down and you can afford to die. Just run. Just run. Trust me. Anyway, now that I got myself killed, I can start this process all over again. While we're doing our mandatory gathering, keep in mind that you're going to want to stay away from all these words here, like warehouse and gas station, because those signify where monuments are. Early on, don't go to the monuments. Don't stay near the monuments. Avoid the monuments at all costs. They just draw in geared, dangerous players who will just shoot anyone that they see. Stay on the edges of the map near the beach as much as you can. How well you're going to be able to pull that off does kind of depend on how the map is seeded. On this one in particular, I'm going to keep following the beach this way, actually, and try to get here in this sort of F5 area, as far away from the airstrip and the gas station and the warehouse as I can be. Now, you don't really strictly need a lot of stone at this point. Getting at least one more rock's worth of it should be good, but mostly you're going to need a lot of wood. As I mentioned before, the very first thing you want to do is build a base with a door and a lock and a sleeping bag so that if you get killed out here, at the very least, you have a base to show for it and you can store stuff there so that if you do find anything valuable, you're not just going to lose it. See that? That's a monument. We want to stay away from those. Even though there's a truck there, I'm not going to bother with it. I'm following the beach. There's a guy sneaking up on me. He looks like he's trying to wave or something. I don't care. I'm running. I'm not risking all the stuff that I swung for. I'm just going. All right, you need 30 cloth for a sleeping bag. Once you've got the cloth and also that may change over time, but once you've got the cloth that you need for a sleeping bag, if you can get 80 and you can make a bow, make a bow. If you can't get 80, then that's completely fine. The longer you spend wandering, the more likely you're going to run into some guy who's going to try to kill you with a rock or something like that. And he's just going to waste a bunch of your time, and you're going to have to regather all these resources. There are a lot of nakeds out here. Jeez. Having a bow is nice because it puts you on a level above all the other naked guys with nothing but like hand tools and weapons who are running around. But it's not a must-have. What is a must-have is getting your base up. All right, so we're in this corner of the map. We're pretty far. Oh, damn, this guy's going to try to fight or something. Don't care. Gonna keep running. All right, now that we're in this corner of the map, away from any monuments, do not build your base near monuments unless you're very ready to get raided. Definitely for your first base, build it on the periphery of the map. Most of the people who are going to come across it are going to be people who just spawned and are naked and don't really have the means to break through your base. And honestly, it's not really time efficient for them to even try. So you're going to want to find some place that's about as secluded as you can get. That's a pretty nice spot. That guy took over there. There's another guy up there who also took a nice spot. Oh, yes, and another important thing. You're going to need an absolute ton of wood. Stone is a bonus, but like I said, you won't need it right now. You can gather it later after you have a place to hang your hat. Ooh, and something like that over there. Absolutely gigantic base, definitely run by a big group of people. You also don't want to build near that, because the moment you look like you have something worth taking, they're going to come along and take it from you. I'm going to take a bit more of a risk than I normally would, especially since I think it might be getting dark soon, and I'm going to build kind of up here in the hills. Geez, there are a lot of bases near here. But like I said, it's better to just get a base up quickly than spend like all day trying to find the exact perfect space. This base can also just be temporary and you can build another base later. So first thing we're going to need is a blueprint. And we're going to equip that blueprint. Start off with, you don't need anything fancy, okay? You just need a little 2x2. At least one of the sides should be close enough to the ground that you can just like walk through a door to get in. And once that's up, just, build your walls. Make sure to put a doorway in. That is the first and most important thing. Door frame. Looks like we've still got plenty of wood. We're going to need a wooden door and a key lock and a resource container to keep our base from decaying. Oh, yes. And of course, a sleeping bag. First things first, put in the door, lock that door up. Bam. Now we're the only ones who can open that door. Absolutely perfect. Let's put our bag down. Boom. Now we have a place to respawn, and we can put our resource container in so that the place won't decay. Now, you don't want to build a huge base to start with, because the bigger the base, the more resources you're going to need to put in there to keep the place from decaying, and the faster it's going to go through those resources. Boom, ceiling. We have a little 2x2 base. Absolutely perfect. If you have some stone left over, you can build a campfire if you want some lighting inside, though I'd recommend if you really need to see inside of your base, just take your torch out. And you can also build a furnace if you want some lighting inside, because the furnace will also be useful later. But I would have to say the next most important thing to build is a storage crate, which I'm missing the wood for. There we go. Storage crate, absolutely amazing. We can store all of our stuff and not have it get stolen by some random guy. And I think there's another guy out here, actually, which is actually fine by me because oh, yeah, there he is. Oh, he decided he bit off more than he can chew. Now this is where the game gets good. Oh, I think I got him. Geez, I'm so hurt I can barely see, though. Oh yeah, I got him. What a come up. Cool, I'll take all of his stuff. Now this is not something that you should actually depend on. But this does also bring up another good point. Healing and all that. In most cases, he definitely would have killed me too, by the way. So it is certainly a good thing that I had a base where I put all my most important items so that, you know, in the likely event that a guy with the bow is going to get a one-up on you when you have nothing but a melee weapon, you don't lose everything that you have. You have some place to come back to. And you don't need to gather all that wood to try to build a base again. That's why the first thing you want to do, build a base. Now, another thing, at least for the time being in this game, is that you're not going to spawn in with full health. You're actually going to spawn in with like a little bit over half health, and now I've got probably basically none. Yeah. If you've got some spare cloth, make bandages and wrap them around your arm. It is definitely better to be at full health than being at a little bit over half health. So do that as soon as you're able to. But I would say that it's probably more important to have a bow than to have absolutely full health. But if you're close to death, then yeah, you should probably do that. If you have a bandage in your hand, and I know it's not very helpful because you can't see a damn thing right now, and neither can I, you just wrap it around your arm, and you just keep doing that, and each one heals not very much health, as you can see. I've wrapped like 6 bandages around my arm. It takes a while to heal yourself with bandages, but that's kind of the point. All right, that is a reasonable amount of health to walk around with. And sure, I'll take this guy's bow out, why not? Actually getting a bow ourselves, I mean, I had the cloth to it regardless. Maybe I should have made a bow before I went out, but whatever. Anyway, once you get the bow, look at that. You can just draw arrows from behind your shoulder. I would recommend letting off a few practice shots to sort of see how well you can aim with it before you actually try to fight someone with it, if you haven't used the bow before. A bit more wood won't hurt in case you have to make more tools. Oh yes, and an important thing. If it's nighttime, I know you can't see much, don't walk around with your torch. Walking around with your torch makes you a beacon for literally everybody in the area. Walking around with your torch is going to increase your risk of getting ambushed and dying by quite a lot, especially considering that it really doesn't let you see that much further, but it lets everybody see you. So don't use your torch. All right, so now that we've got our basic wood base down, you might want to go out and get some more cloth and get a bow. While you're looking for cloth, or after you've already gotten your bow, which will make you much more dangerous than you were previously, and will mean that everyone without a bow is basically extremely weak compared to you. The next thing you're going to want to do is gather a lot of stone and a lot of metal. And by metal, I mean like that metal ore. It's found on nodes that look like stone nodes, but they're sort of a brown color. I'll show you one soon. You want to get 500 of that and about as much stone as you can find. In the meantime, also take cloth whenever you see it. And if you see some easy sources of scrap that you happen to run across, like abandoned cars and that sort of thing, or the barrels that you can bust open with a tool, go ahead and take them. There's really no reason not to. And later on, you'll be wanting as much fat as you possibly can. The real point of building the base is to protect those things that are hard to get because you have to scavenge them, and scavenging generally leads to fighting. Oh, also, if you hear a gunshot, immediately run in the opposite direction. Don't even stop for resources unless you can grab them super quickly. Don't harvest anything. You hear a gunshot, just get out of there. Run in the opposite direction. Don't mess with them. And also, while you're scavenging, looking around for stuff, as always, stay away from the monuments. Monuments attract dangerous people. All right, that was the kind of rock, by the way, that you also need to harvest now. Ooh, just shy. This is metal ore that you get from those rocks. You need 500. Good thing there's another one right here. If you get over 500, that's great. You're going to need more than 500 total. But for now, 500 is sort of the bare minimum of what we need. Also, you don't have to worry nearly as much about getting lost now that you have a base down with the bag in it. This is another reason why the sleeping bag is super important. Right wherever your bag is will show up on the map. So You don't have to like remember the way over there or anything like that. You can just walk to it using your map. In case it wasn't clear, for cloth, once you've gathered enough cloth for a bow, make that. And then once you've made a bow and you've made some arrows for it, also important, which should just cost stone and wood, so they should be easy to make. Then make enough bandages so that you can heal yourself up to full health and also have a few spare in case you get hurt. And once that is over, then you should, gather cloth to have as backups, also in case, like, you die and lose your bow. But that should be good. Now, right now, I think I'm going to need more stone than this, but it doesn't really matter. Now that I've got the metal ore that I need, it's actually kind of good for us to go back a little bit early because we're going to need to smelt that ore down into metal fragments so we can build a metal door. So it's better to get the furnace running sooner rather than later. Gone out, you've gathered some stone and metal ore. Now, once you have at least 500 metal ore and at least 400 spare stone, make your way back to your base. And of course, keep gathering whatever you find along the way. Oh, and also make sure that you have at least 400 wood. I actually overgathered here a little bit, but that's not a problem right now. I haven't seen a single threat this whole time because we are safely tucked away in the corner of the island. And since we've got our bow now, if any more naked people try to mess with us, well, we have the upper hand because we've got a bow. If you've got rope and some spare wood, which of course wood is easy to come by, you can also build wood armor, which is sort of like an actually decent armor set that you can get very easily early on. If you get rope from like crates from cars and that sort of thing lying around, then also feel free to use some wood to build a wooden armor piece or two. And this is us. Box. Sweet box. She'll look a bit better shortly enough. Oh god, I placed this crate absolutely terribly because it was dark. Whatever, I can always move it later, doesn't matter. For now, though, I'm going to take my own advice and craft the wooden chest piece. And more importantly, I'm going to craft 2 furnaces. Could you get away with 1 furnace? Yes, but 2 furnaces is better than 1, so we're going to do that. So we got 1 furnace here. So I'm going to take this stack of 1,000, split it into 2 stacks of 500. I did all that with the trigger. It's just trigger on 1. Trigger, you can select how many more you want here. Trigger here, drag it away, boom, you split stack. All right, put 500 in there. Also, you want to put in, it's like better to put in an amount of wood that's equal to the amount of metal ore you put in. Basically, once you toggle the furnace on, and make sure you toggle it on, it'll make that noise and that light, which kind of gives you away, but it's an acceptable risk for now. And then it will destroy 1 wood and 1 metal ore for 1 metal fragment and 1 charcoal. And we really need those metal fragments right now. So let's get both of our furnaces going. Also, make sure to feed yourself with apples. I'm sure this will change later on, and food will probably become more important. But at least for the time being as I'm making this, you don't really have to worry about food. When you're chopping down wood, you get apples, you're good. All right. Now that we've got some stone left over, if you need to go out and gather more stone, go ahead. We might have to do that here too. What you're going to want to do is go to your blueprints. And I think I forgot to mention this before, but you press B on your offhand. You hold it down, rather, and that brings up this radio menu where you can select stuff to build, like foundation for the floor, ceiling for the ceiling, walls for these walls, that sort of thing like we did earlier on. But in this case, what we're going to need to do is we want to go up here to Tools and then move our hand over this arrow, which says Upgrade. Also, if you want to move anything like this crate that's in a terrible position, you can also use this thing to pick up deployables like furnaces or this crate or any of that sort of thing. But right now, we're going to upgrade stuff. We have upgrade selected. Look at this wall or whatever. Ah, man. Upgrade. And you look at it and you press trigger. Beware accidentally pressing trigger twice if you have metal fragments in your inventory. You might accidentally upgrade it to a metal wall. And I can never seem to get this working properly. There we go. I don't know if this is just a personal problem, but I seem to always have to select it like multiple times I don't know why. Could just be me. Anyway. All right, we've got our walls upgraded. That's the first thing you want. Second thing, foundations. Upgrade your foundations. But make sure you don't immediately use all of your stone, because now every single piece that you upgraded to stone now needs stone for upkeep instead of needing wood for upkeep. Luckily, we still have loads of stone. I'm going to gather more here in a minute. But I got enough to fully upgrade the ceiling, and it honestly didn't really take me that long. I just kind of did a big loop, and I found plenty of stone and the metal fragments that we need. And boom, we have a stone box instead of a wood box. Each of these stone walls is twice as durable as those wood walls that we had previously, twice as hard for someone to break into. So we're going to wait for those 500 fragments to be smelted. In the meantime, I'm just going to go out, get some more resources, see what there is to see. Oh yes, there's plenty of stone around here. It's basically the second most plentiful resource other than wood, so you really shouldn't have that much problem finding a good bit of it. Yeah, that'll happen to you sometimes. That's why we built the base. Man, that was surprising. I did not see them roll up until they were very close. So like I said the last time I got killed, in the course of following this advice, always keep in mind that things are not going to go perfectly. And this is basically just playing it safe as much as you can until, you have a base that's somewhat defensible and you can afford to take risks. All right, got some more stone, and here's our base, and you might notice that unlike these other bases right now, it is lit up like a Christmas tree, and that's because we have our furnaces left toggled on. So having your furnaces on lets basically everyone in the vicinity know, hey, there's someone in here. They're also probably online right now, and they probably have stuff in there because they're actively smelting. So they at least have some metal fragments and stuff to take. So if you really want to emphasize keeping a low profile, then feel free to turn your furnaces off. On the other hand, letting people know that you're home might deter them a little bit, but it also might just make them set up an ambush outside of your door. So keep that in mind. Having your furnaces lit, even during the daytime, is a little bit more risky and draws a little bit more attention. All right, and now, as you can see, we put some more stone in there. Despite the fact that this entire box is made out of stone, we're protected for 40 hours, so that should be plenty. All right, 249 and 250. Perfect. So now we've got our 507 metal fragments, but you, of course, only need 500. Let's go and make deployables. Bam. Metal door. Make that. Now that we've got a metal door, which is absolutely fantastic, we're going to want to take off this old one. How you do that, at least for right now, is you put your hand here until that releases, that lock there. So that lock is released. It's unlocked now. Now we pick up deployable. Boom. Using the blueprint, using pick up deployable, pick that up, then pick the door up. And then quickly put down a metal door and put our lock on it before anyone rolls up. Make sure there's no one outside when you do this, by the way. Goes without saying. So we're in a pretty good spot now. We've got stone walls with 500 health each and a metal door with 500 health. So now you can really start making your own decisions as to where you want to go next and how you want to play the game, because you always have a place to store items that's pretty safe. We are kind of out here in the boonies, so probably not that many well-geared players are going to run across us. Fingers crossed, of course, because at the end of the day, Strayed is an apocalyptic, chaotic game. None of this stuff guarantees you safety or guarantees you success. It just kind of gives you the best odds as a solo player to not get absolutely destroyed early on. I died twice, still managed to pull this off in, I don't know, what's it been, like an hour, hour and a half? Something like that. So you should be able to pull it off like that too. Now, here's a general path of sort of what comes next. Let's go to our crafting menu, check that out. The next thing that I really recommend doing is building a little airlock outside of your base. So another foundation or a triangle foundation past this door with another locked metal door past it. That's why I recommended that you have 1,000 metal fragments smelting. You can also try to upgrade all of your walls to metal walls. It's going to take quite a bit of fragments to pull that off, but this base is pretty small, so it's not like unheard of, and that's about as well protected as you can possibly be with a small base like this. You can also expand the base outwards, but then you're going to need to be doing a lot more harvesting on a daily basis just to keep the base from disappearing. But more importantly, you probably are wondering, how do I get awesome guns and that sort of thing? Well, you can do it in here in the deployment menu. The next thing you're going to want to get is a workbench, which takes some metal fragments, some rope, and shreds. What are shreds? You might have been finding them in the sort of random car and trucks or barrel spawns that you've been passing by while you've been collecting regular resources. Well, now those are your main target. Those are the most important things. The things that spawn in those are the things that you're going to need, like shreds. Shreds is the number one most important thing, because you can find like a pistol or some ammo or something, but without shreds, you're not going to be able to actually make more of them. Because with the research bench, you can take an item that you scavenge, like a pistol or a piece of metal armor or a metal tool, and use your research bench to make a blueprint out of it that you can then put into the workbench to recreate that item with scrap pieces and stuff that you found while scavenging. So now, scavenging and going to monuments and that sort of thing is what you need to actually be doing. Of course, that's very risky. That's kind of the end game. That's kind of where the game really becomes the game. But now when you do make it out with stuff, you have a place to store it that's relatively safe. You can also try to build another base. You have two places to store stuff, like a backup base or something like that, but you're also going to have to keep that base stocked with upkeep resources so that it doesn't decay. Also keep that in mind. So you go out there, you scavenge stuff, you get shreds, you research stuff that you find, like guns and whatnot at the workbench so you can make more of them, or you just use them. That's cool. The first thing I'd recommend that you spend shreds to research is bullets. If you find bullets, research those first. You can make, at least at the time of recording, you can make shotgun shells right when you build the workbench. So if you find a shotgun, boom. And actually, shotguns are one of the easier things to make, because to make like a pistol or something, you need another tool at the workbench that costs like 500 shreds. It was like a ridiculous amount of shreds. So you need a lot of shreds so that you can build endgame equipment once you find it. Oh, and also keep in mind, using the research bench to research an item and make a blueprint also destroys that item. So if you research a rifle, you're going to be down a rifle. So hopefully you have what you need to make more. So anyway, that's how to get started in Strayed. If you've just been spawning and dying a lot and not knowing how to progress, that's basically the outline of how to progress right now. As this video ages, it's probably going to get a little different, but a lot of this general advice, like immediately try to build a base and fortify it so that you can keep stuff without getting easily raided constantly, is pretty good. And one of the biggest pieces of those advice is try to build somewhere inconspicuous. Lying low is your number one defense as a solo player or even as a small group in this game. Now, when you're maybe thinking about going to monuments, because monuments is where you get a lot of shreds and other loot pieces and items and whatnot, think about, maybe scouting the area out and sneaking in. If you hear gunshots, maybe don't mess with that at the time. Try to hit them, stealthily. It's probably your number one chance to be able to pull off big plays. And when you start getting gear and you're more geared than other players, that's when you can really just start dominating, even if it's just you. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Reality Remake. Have a good one out there. Stay surviving.